I bought the car on a warm Saturday morning. It was not new, but it was clean and steady. The brakes felt strong. The tires were fresh. The seat belts clicked with a sure sound. I ran my hand over the hood and felt calm. This car would carry my daughter, Sophie, to work and back. Nothing flashy. No noise. Just a good car for a careful life. Sophie stood beside me in the lot, smiling the way she did when she was 10. She is 24 now, a new teacher, still gentle when she speaks. "Mom, it's perfect," she said. I gave her the keys, then took them back for 1 second, like a joke. We laughed. The salesman laughed too and handed us the bill of sale. I signed with a firm hand. Sophie signed as the owner. The title would be in her name. I wanted her to have real control. I also wanted her to have safety. So before we left the lot, I called my lawyer, Mr. Anderson. He has helped us for years. I told him what I planned. "Put a tiny lien on it," he said. $1. It does nothing to Sophie's freedom, but it stops anyone from moving the title without you. It sounded small and smart, like a lock no one can see but that holds the door. I nodded and asked the dealer to add the lien. He shrugged and said, "No problem." The papers were clean and simple. Sophie was happy. I felt steady. I made copies of everything. I kept the original bill of sale and the title application in my home safe. I put the spare key in a little tin box with our passports and a family photo. As we stood by the car, I opened the trunk and slid a tiny tracker under the felt lining. It was the same kind I put on my own car after a break-in 2 years ago. Not because I did not trust my daughter. I did. I just did not trust the world. Sophie hugged me hard. "Thank you, Mom." Her husband, Mark, arrived late, hair messy, smiling big. He kissed Sophie on the cheek and clapped me on the shoulder. "Great find," he said. "We could flip cars like this all day." He laughed like it was only a joke. I smiled, but a small cold draft moved through me. The wind was still. My stomach was not. A voice note from his mother, Rosa, buzzed while we were at the gas station. "So proud of you both," she sang. "Family always helps family." Her tone was sweet syrup. She likes to stand in the middle of every plan, every purchase, every argument. I kept my phone face down and paid for a full tank. Sophie drove us home, slow and careful. She held the wheel at 10 and 2. She has always followed the rules. At home we took photos in the driveway. Sophie stood by the driver door with the keys held high. Mark held her waist and grinned. I stood on the other side of the car with a hand on the hood. Later I printed one of those photos and slid it into a plastic sleeve with the receipt. I liked the idea that everything important could fit into a thin folder, easy to hold and easy to show. That night I could not sleep. It was not fear, just a buzz. I lay awake and watched the light on the smoke detector blink every 6 seconds. In the next room I heard Sophie laugh at something on her phone, and then go quiet. Mark was talking fast and low, the way he does when he is trying to win. I told myself it was nothing. Young couples whisper secrets. They should. I turned on my side and tried to dream of calm roads and green lights. The next day I cooked lunch and invited them over. I wanted the car to feel like part of the family. We ate pasta and garlic bread. Mark told a story about a friend who made easy money selling used phones. "If you move fast, the profit is simple," he said. He winked at me. "Things are worth what people pay." I nodded and changed the subject to Sophie's students. She lit up when she talked about them. The shy girl who drew a perfect tree, the boy who could not sit still but loved math when it was a game, the quiet twins who always said thank you. Her voice made the room bright again. After lunch, I walked out to the driveway to see the car again. The sun made the windshield shine. I checked the doors and the trunk. I do that every time I care about something. I know it looks strange. I touched the wheel well and felt for the tracker. Still there. I closed the trunk softly and stood still for a moment. In the quiet, I pictured a border around my daughter, like a thin line of light. I wished that line could follow her everywhere. When they left, Sophie kissed my cheek and said, "I'll text when I get home." Mark waved from the passenger seat. He mouthed thank you and put on his sunglasses. The car turned the corner and was gone. I washed the plates and set the clean folder on the counter. The house felt good. It felt finished. But late that night, as I closed the curtains, my phone buzzed. The tracker app lit the screen. It showed a dot moving slowly across town, even though Sophie had texted, "Home. Good night." The dot was my daughter's car. The route did not match the way to her apartment. It headed toward a strip of neon signs and payday loan shops. I stood by the window in the dark and watched the dot stop and stay. I whispered, "It's nothing. Maybe Mark borrowed it for snacks." I turned the phone face down. Then I picked it up again and saved a screenshot of the map. I am a mother. We save things. We notice patterns. I set the phone on the nightstand and listened to the house breathe. The heater clicked. A dog barked far away. The dot on the screen did not move. I told myself a simple thing. The best locks are quiet. Good locks click, hold, and do not brag. I had placed one small lock on that car. I had placed another in my heart. I would not panic. I would sleep, and in the morning I would check the map again. If the dot still sat in that hard strip of town, I would do what careful people do. I would gather proof before I spoke. I turned off the lamp and lay down, eyes open, counting the seconds between each breath, waiting for morning to come like a key turning in a door. Morning came slow. I reached for my phone before my glasses. The tracker app was still open. The little dot had not moved all night. It sat on a thin street with neon signs: pawn, payday, title, and tag. I dressed, tied my hair back, and drove by once, not stopping. I stayed 2 blocks away and looked from the end of the lot. My daughter's car was there, parked behind a glass storefront that read Title and Tag Express. Next door, a flashing board said Fast Cash on car titles. I felt my heart rise into my throat and then fall back down. I did not get out. I took 2 quiet photos and drove home. At the kitchen table, I opened my laptop and searched Marketplace for the car's make and color. It took 3 scrolls to find it. The photos were mine before they were even mine. Same dent on the rear bumper, same tiny scratch near the fuel cap. The plates were blurred, but the VIN showed the last digits, and those matched. Seller, Rosa D. The description said, urgent sale, family reasons, need gone today. Price, low enough to hurt. My hands felt cold. I took screenshots of the post, the profile, the timestamp. I did not call Sophie. She was already at work and had a full day with her class. I knew what a call like this would do to her. It would yank her heart out of the day and drop it in a dark place. I wrote a note on paper instead. I love you. There is a problem with the car. I am handling it. Please stay at school and stay calm. I did not send it. I tucked it under the folder on the counter, just in case. I bought a cheap prepaid phone last year for emergencies. I turned it on, put in the SIM, and called the number in the listing. A young man answered. He spoke fast and tried to sound cool. I knew the voice. "This is Mark," he said without saying his name. "We can meet at my mom's place or at the DMV if you want it clean." I kept my voice flat. "I prefer DMV. I pay cash. I only pay after I see clean title." He hesitated and then said, "Yeah, sure, DMV is fine." "Whose name is on the title?" I asked. "My mom's," he said. "She's the owner." He said it too quick. I wrote the words down. She's the owner. "Can we meet this morning?" I asked. "I work nights." "Give us an hour," he said. "We need to grab the paper from the notary." "Good," I said. "Text me when you're on the way." I hung up and breathed. Then I called the number for DMV investigations. A calm man called me back. I told him my name and the story in simple lines. I bought the car, the title is in my daughter's name, I kept the original bill of sale, I filed a $1 lien, and now the car is listed by my son-in-law's mother. I told him the tracker location and the plan to meet at DMV. He asked for the screenshots and any photos I had. I sent everything to the email he gave me, with the VIN in the subject line. He called again and said, "Come to the main office. Ask for Windows 17. Bring every original you have. Do not confront them if they show up. Let them try to transfer. We will verify signatures. If it is wrong, we will void it. We will take it from there. Do I tell my daughter?" I asked. "Not yet," he said gently. "Let us catch the paper first." I opened my safe and laid everything on the table like a small altar. Bill of sale with the ink still dark, application copy, lien notice, photo of Sophie holding the keys in our driveway, receipt, and the spare key. I slid them into a clean folder. I added printed screenshots of the Marketplace post, the seller name, and the messages from the burner phone. I put on a plain jacket with deep pockets and flat shoes that make no sound on tile. Before I left, I checked the tracker again. The dot had moved from the strip mall to a residential street. Then it moved again toward the main highway. I texted from the prepaid. "Let's meet at the main DMV on 5th. I'll be there in 30. A few minutes later I got a reply. "Okay, see you." Driving to the DMV felt like moving through thick water. Everything was slow. The radio stayed off. I counted traffic lights and kept my hands steady at the top of the wheel. I parked far from the door, so I could see the whole lot. Inside, the air was cool and smelled like paper and sanitizer. I found window 17 and told the clerk my name. She nodded as if she had been told to expect me and asked me to take a seat near the side door. I chose a chair where I could see both the entrance and the counter. I watched the room the way you watch a sleeping baby. Quiet, alert, careful. Every few minutes I looked down at my phone to check the tracker dot. It was 3 blocks away, then 2, then 1. My prepaid phone buzzed. Parking now. I did not look up right away. I breathed in, breathed out, and pressed the folder flat against my knees until the edges of the paper left soft lines on my skin. They entered like people who have decided a result already. Mark wore a clean shirt and a bright smile. Rosa was in a neat dress with a big bag on her arm. They went straight to the number machine and pulled a ticket. Mark saw me and waved like this was a surprise. I raised one hand, but did not smile. Rosa did not look at me at all. She looked at the counter the way people look at a finish line. While they waited, Mark took papers from the bag and tapped them into a tidy stack. I saw a notary stamp on the top sheet. I felt nothing for a second, like someone had turned down the sound in the room. Then I felt a tight heat in my chest and a cold ring around it, both at once. I kept my face calm. I did not move. Their number was called. They walked to the counter. The clerk at window 17 greeted them kindly and asked for the purpose of the visit. Mark said, "Transfer of title. Owner can't be here. We have a power of attorney." He slid the stack forward with both hands. The clerk opened the papers and began to type. She asked for IDs. She asked for the VIN. She asked about the current lien holder. Rosa said, "There is no real lien." The clerk looked at her and said nothing back. I watched the clerk compare signatures on a screen. She printed a small sheet, then another. She reached for a red stamp and set it near her right hand. Her face did not change. She made a short call, gave a small nod, and hung up. She set the papers down in a neat pile. "Please wait by the side door for verification," she said, her voice even and soft. Mark turned his head slow, like someone waking from a nap in a strange room. Rosa pressed her lips tight and held her bag close. I stood. I did not blink. The side door was 10 steps away. Behind it, I knew something was ready. The side door clicked and swung in. A man in a plain suit stood there with a badge on his belt. He had calm eyes and a steady voice. "I'm Ryan Cole with DMV Investigations," he said. "Please step this way." A uniformed officer stood just behind him, not loud, just present. Mark glanced at Rosa. Rosa lifted her chin like this was only a quick check. I carried my folder and followed. We entered a small room with a table, 4 chairs, and a box of tissues in the corner. The walls were the color of old paper. There was a quiet hum from the vent. Ryan asked us to sit. He set a thin file on the table. The officer stood by the door with his hands folded. Ryan spoke softly, like a teacher explaining rules. "We're going to look at documents. We will compare signatures and ownership. No one needs to raise their voice." He turned to me. "Ma'am, are you Laura Hale?" "Yes," I said. My hands were flat on the folder, so they would not shake. He nodded and looked at Mark. "And you are Mark Rivera?" Mark smiled. "Yes, sir." "And you are Ms. Delgado?" Rosa gave a small smile. "Yes. The car is mine." Ryan did not react. He opened his file and slid a printed page into the middle of the table. "This is the current record for the vehicle by VIN. It shows owner, Sophie Hale Rivera. It also shows a lien for $1 held by Laura Hale. A transfer cannot be done without the lien holder's consent." Rosa blinked. "It's a tiny lien," she said. "It doesn't count." "It counts," Ryan said, still calm. He placed another page on the table, the power of attorney they had brought. He set it beside a copy of Sophie's driver's license signature from the DMV system. "We compare known signatures to the one presented. I will ask a clear question. Did Sophie sign this last night, as stated here?" Mark leaned forward. "Yes. She did. She gave us permission. She was tired, but she signed." Ryan took a pen and circled the tail of the Y in Sophie. "This is lifted in a way we see in traced signatures. The letter pressure drops in the middle. It does not match the pressure pattern on her license. Also, the notary journal shows no valid ID recorded for Sophie last night." He turned the page so the notary log copy faced us. The notary wrote, "Verified by spouse." "That is not acceptable." Rosa's mouth opened and closed. "It was an emergency," she said. Family emergency. Ryan nodded once, slow. He did not ask why. He slid the papers back into a neat stack and looked at me. Ms. Hale, may I see your originals? I passed the folder across with both hands. He reviewed each page: bill of sale, application copy, lien notice, receipt. He paused on the photo of Sophie in our driveway, holding the keys with a wide smile. This is helpful, he said. He placed a small sticky note at the corner and wrote a date and time. Then he turned to the officer. Please note the application to void the attempted transfer. The officer stepped out for a moment. Through the thin wall, I heard the soft thunk of a stamp. The word echoed in my head the way a judge's gavel might: void. Ryan folded his hands. Here is what will happen now. The transfer they requested will be rejected as invalid. The record will remain in Sophie's name with your lien intact. I will document the forged POA and the notary issue. I will also place a temporary watch on this VIN so no duplicate title is issued without in-person verification. Rosa swallowed. We were just trying to help the kids, she said. They need money. We thought we could sell and get a better car later. Ryan's voice stayed even. Ms. Delgado, listing a car you do not own and attempting to transfer it with a forged authorization is not helping. It is fraud. He looked at Mark. And you, sir, told the buyer at the door, who is a DMV investigator, that your mother was the owner. That is a false statement. Mark's smile faded. He looked smaller in his chair. Sophie said it was okay, he repeated, but there was no force in it now. I took a breath. I need to call my daughter, I said. She does not know. She will be confused and scared. She should see her name on that paper and the word void with her own eyes. Ryan nodded. You can call her. Please ask her to bring her license. We will verify her in person and make a note. I stepped into the hallway and dialed. My voice shook for the first time all day. Sophie, it's Mom. I need you to come to the main DMV right now. Bring your ID. You are safe. I am here. She heard the tremor and did not ask many questions. I'm coming, she said. 10 minutes. I went back in and sat down. Time stretched like gum. Mark drummed his fingers, then stopped when the officer looked at him. Rosa stared at a point over my shoulder. I stared at the tabletop and counted tiny dots in the wood. When the door opened again, it was my daughter. Sophie stepped in, cheeks pink from the cold outside. Her hair was tied back. She held her purse tight to her chest. She saw the papers, saw me, saw Mark and Rosa, and stopped moving for a second. Mom, she said, small. I stood and opened my arms. It's okay, I said into her hair. Look at this with me. We sat side by side. Ryan put the forged POA in front of her, then placed the license signature card next to it. Ms. Hale Rivera, he said gently. Did you sign this last night? She studied the page. Her lips trembled. No, she said. This is not my signature. It looks like mine, but it isn't. I never gave permission to sell my car. Rosa spoke quick. Sophie, sweetie, you were tired. Remember? You said, do what you need to do. Sophie turned to her, and in that look I saw something close, then lock. I said that about the insurance quote, she said, voice clear now. Not this. Ryan slid a form across the table. Please write a brief statement that this is not your signature and that you did not grant power of attorney. Print and sign at the bottom. Sophie wrote, slow and careful. Her real signature flowed like a small wave. Ryan compared it to the record and nodded. Thank you, he said. He looked at Mark and Rosa. At this point, we will complete our report. You are free to leave, but do not attempt any further action on this vehicle. If you do, we will escalate. Mark tried one last time. We just wanted to trade up, he said. We could have made money. It would have helped everyone. Sophie stood. You tried to take my car, she said softly. You tried to take my name. She looked at me, and I saw grief and strength standing together in her eyes like two people holding hands. Ryan gathered the papers. Ms. Hale, he said to me, your caution protected your daughter. Not everyone thinks to put a small lien. Not everyone keeps records this clean. You made our job simple. I nodded. The words did not feel like a victory. They felt like a seatbelt clicking into place after a hard break. Necessary. Late maybe, but in time. We walked out through the busy lobby. The clerk at window 17 glanced up. Our eyes met, and she gave the smallest nod. Outside, the air felt thin and cold. We stood on the sidewalk, just the two of us for a moment. Cars moved in and out of the lot. A bus hissed at the curb. Life went on as if nothing had happened. Sophie squeezed my hand. What now? She asked. Now, I said, We take the car home. We change your passwords. We put a freeze on your credit. We breathe. And then we decide the next thing. She nodded. Her shoulders were shaking, but her steps were steady. Behind us, the side door closed with a soft thud. It sounded like the end of a chapter. It also sounded like the start of the next one. We walked out of the DMV into thin winter light. Sophie's hand was cold in mine, but her steps were firm. We did not talk much in the car. We just breathed. At a red light, she whispered, "Thank you for the lean." I said, "Thank you for telling the truth." It felt like a small bridge built between us, plank by plank. At home, we started with simple, boring safety. We changed her phone passcode. We changed her email password. I sat at the table with my laptop while Sophie called her bank. She asked for a fraud alert on her credit. Then we went to each credit bureau website and placed a freeze. I wrote every confirmation number on a yellow pad and slid it into the folder with the bill of sale. The folder felt heavier now, like it had picked up a spine. My phone rang. It was Investigator Ryan Cole. His voice was calm, but there was a new weight in it. "Ms. Hale, I need to tell you something important. We looked at yesterday's queries on the VIN. Someone tried to take a title loan in your daughter's name last night, before the transfer attempt. The system flagged it because of your lien. The funds were set to route to a prepaid account registered to Ms. Delgado." Sophie covered her mouth. I could feel the shock pass through her hand and into mine like a small electric pulse. Ryan continued, "We also pulled security camera stills from Title and Tag Express. The same two people were in the shop with a printed power of attorney and a photocopy of your daughter's license. The notary log says identity verified by spouse. That is not legal. We will refer the case to the county attorney." I said, "So the sale was Plan B?" "Yes," Ryan said. "The loan was Plan A, the sale was Plan B. Your lien stopped both." I thanked him and hung up. Sophie stared at the wall for a long time. Then she said very softly, "They used my name to get money for themselves." No anger, just a tired truth. She sat up straighter. "I want to write a full statement. I want everything in writing." We drove to the local police station. The desk officer listened, copied the DMV report number, and took Sophie's written statement. He gave her a card with a case number and a small list. "Change locks if needed, block numbers. Do not meet alone. Call 911 if anyone comes to the house." "You're doing the right thing," he said. It did not fix the hurt, but it gave the day structure. When we got back, Sophie packed a week's worth of clothes and moved into my guest room. We hung her work outfits on the shower rod in neat rows. We put the car in my garage and closed the door. I put the keys in the safe and shut it with a click that sounded like a promise. For dinner we ate toast and soup, food you can hold in a shaking hand. At 9, my prepaid phone buzzed. A marketplace notification. "Your listing has been marked sold." But I had not listed anything. I clicked through. Rose's post now said sold, thank you. A new comment below it read, "Great deal," with a thumbs up from Mark's account. It was a small, clumsy lie to make the world believe they had won. I took screenshots and added them to the folder. Lies leave footprints too. At 10, knocking rattled my front door. Hard, fast, not polite. I looked through the peephole. Mark stood on my porch with his hands in his pockets, eyes too bright. I did not open the door. "Laura," he called, "let's be reasonable. We were fixing a money problem. Let me talk to Sophie." I said, "Please leave. This is not a discussion. The DMV has the papers. The police have the report." He laughed once sharp. "So you're proud of that little lien? You trapped us for $1? Over a car you didn't even want to keep." I said nothing. Silence can be a wall. He tried the handle. It didn't move. "This is family," he said. "Family sorts it out." I called 911 on speaker. I gave my address and the case number. The dispatcher said an officer was on the way. I watched Mark hear the words through the door. He stepped back, swore, and left. The porch light made his shadow long and thin. 10 minutes later, a patrol car rolled by, slow and visible. I slept with the hallway lamp on and my phone under my pillow. In the morning, Rosa sent a long voice note to Sophie. It was sweet as candy and sharp as glass. "We were helping you, baby. Your mother is dramatic. We needed quick cash to pay a hospital bill. You're a wife now. Wives support husbands' families." Sophie listened once. Then she pressed delete. "I am a person first," she said. Simple words. Strong words. She blocked Rosa's number and Mark's number too. Ryan called again 2 days later. The county attorney will file attempted title fraud and unlawful use of a power of attorney. They may offer a plea. This will take time. Protect yourselves in the meantime." He paused. "Would you like a victim advocate to help with information and court dates?" I said yes. He gave me a name and a phone number. I wrote it on my yellow pad. The next weeks were quiet work. We met with a legal aid clinic about a protective order for Sophie. We added her to my home alarm. We gave the school front office a list of people who were not allowed to pick her up. In the evenings, we watched old shows and folded laundry. Healing sounds boring when you do it right. Then, one bright Saturday, Sophie said, "I want to drive." We opened the garage. Dust swirled in the sun. She sat behind the wheel, hands at 10 and 2, as if the days in between had been one long red light. I sat in the passenger seat. She backed out slow, turned onto the street, and followed the same calm path as the first day. At a quiet stop, she looked at me. "When I'm ready, I want the lien gone," she said. "I want the title to be mine fully." I nodded. "When you say the word." A month later, after the first court date, Mark took a plea for a reduced charge. Community service. Restitution. A ban on acting in Sophie's name. Rosa agreed to a civil order to stay away. None of it felt like revenge. It felt like a fence finally built where the property line always was. We went back to the DMV together. No drama this time. No side door. We sat at an ordinary window. Sophie showed her ID. I signed a simple release of lien. The clerk stamped it and smiled. We stood in the lobby with a new paper in our hands. Sophie held the clean title like a diploma. She laughed and cried at the same time. At home we made tea. I took the old folder from the safe, now fat with dates and screenshots and small, boring proof. I slid the lien release to the top and then slowly put the whole folder away. Sophie set the keys on the counter. The metal flashed in the kitchen light. She picked them up again and closed her hand. "It was never about the car, was it?" she asked. "No," I said. "It was about respect. And who gets to hold the keys." Outside, the street was quiet. The car sat by the curb, simple and steady, the same way it had sat on the lot the day we found it. It had not changed. We had. And that was the twist I did not see coming. The $1 lock was not just on a title. It was on our boundary, our voice, our future. We turned the deadbolt on the front door. It clicked soft and sure. Then we slept without the hallway light for the first time in weeks.